For this vlog, I'd like to do something just a little bit different. I want to tell a story, because this time of year, it's a special time of year for Hanna and I'd like to share a bit of that with you guys. The story's going to start in 2015, work its way through 2016, ending up in present day 2017. You see, in 2015, both Hanna and I were single and scouring the universe for somebody to spend our days with. We didn't want to be single. We quickly realized the universe is a vast place. We needed some help to narrow this search down. So, we employed the highest tech available at the time in the dating realm, and that was Tinder. You see, Tinder was an app that used military satellite precision to allow people in similar geographic areas to meet each other with a simple swipe to the right. Hanna and I both swiped to the right, we matched right away, and we were on our first date shortly after that. I remember sitting in the window of the restaurant. I got there first. That never happens, but it happened then. And I remember watching her walking up to the restaurant, and I knew right away that this was someone special. The date was great. We got along famously, and we quickly found ourselves going on the second date, a third date, and it just kind of spiraled from there. We were immediately clicking. I mean, it did not take me long to realize that Hanna was going to change my life for the better. And so I did the only thing that was logical. I asked Hanna if she would go to Coachella with me. Coachella? Context. I am a super ridiculously huge Guns N' Roses fan. And for the first time in 23 years, I heard the words Guns N' Roses and reunion in the same sentence. I'd been waiting so long to see Slash, Axl, and Duff on stage together. I had to go. I had to. Hanna completely agreed with my insane plan. Right there, I knew I'd found my match. So, we quickly bought plane tickets. We managed to get passes to Coachella, and then we asked our work for some time off. All three things completed, mission accomplished. This is where our story begins. On April 21st, we rushed to the airport after work to catch our flight. When we got to the gate, we found out they were no longer accepting checked luggage, and they were boarding momentarily. We ran to the lockers in the airport, bought 2 duffel bags, stuffed as much as we could in the duffel bags, put the rest of our luggage into the lockers, and ran back to the gate, got our boarding passes, ran through security, and got to the plane just as they were boarding. A few hours later, we were arriving in LAX. We picked up our rental car and headed for Hollywood. We took in the last set at the Comedy Store, as it was already pushing 1 a.m. And from there, we checked out the Sunset Strip, Hollywood Boulevard, the Whiskey, the Rainbow, the Troubadour, all the must-see places on any Hollywood tour. And we kept going until we had worked up an appetite for destruction. Or maybe some diner food. Nothing like a 3 a.m. stop to Cantor's Deli to complete the rock and roll fantasy. After our meal, we were starting to get tired. We had no plans of paying for a hotel room. We needed all the cash we had and just wasn't in the budget. We drove around Bel Air for a bit and decided to head up Mulholland Drive for the view overlooking the city. We parked the car in a quiet spot, passed out for a couple of hours until just before sunrise. We awoke just as the sky was starting to lighten behind the mountains. We got out of the car, walked to the edge of a cliff overlooking the city, and watched the sunrise over Los Angeles. It was a beautiful sight, and just as the sun began to peek out over the mountains, I turned to Hanna, produced a ring, and asked her to marry me. We were so in sync with each other. Unlike everyone else I'd met, she actually appreciated how different and outside the box I was. Not only that, she was too. Thank God she said yes, although she did keep me in suspense for a painfully long moment first. There was one spot that had eluded us the night before in our Hollywood tour, the Griffith Observatory. We'd heard that that's where you can get the best view of the Hollywood sign from, and we had to check it out. As we drove up the winding road to the observatory, we drove through a movie set and eventually ended up in the parking lot overlooking the Hollywood sign. It was a pretty epic and whirlwind 10 hours so far, and it was only going to get better from there. This was the end of our Hollywood adventure, as it was now Friday and it was time for us to drive out into the desert. We drove straight to Palm Springs, stopping only once for breakfast, and got checked into our hotel. We decided it was time to crash for a couple hours and try and get sorta caught up. This is the picture we posted to Facebook to announce our engagement. We didn't caption the photo with anything about our engagement. We just posted the picture with the ring, and if anybody noticed, they noticed. If not, that's cool too. Go figure, the only person who picked up on the engagement ring was Hannah's 91-year-old Bubby. She has laser eyes and immediately noticed the ring on Hannah's finger. Nobody else did. We always try to make the most out of any travel we do. As I said, you gotta make the moments count. And this was no different. So we would explore the scenery and surrounding areas before going to Coachella each day. And the scenery was so awesome in that desert landscape. Joshua Tree was one place that really blew our minds. It was a desert experience like no other. The panorama seemed to go on forever. And despite being a desert, it was filled with life. It's a really special place to us, and I know we'll return there again and again. The mountains around Desert Hot Springs were such an awesome sight also. Here in the middle of this desert expanse were mountains pushing up high enough to have snow-covered peaks in the middle of sunny California. We loved exploring all these places on a whim each day, but would always tear ourselves away just in time to get back to Coachella. Now it was Saturday, the second day of the festival, and the moment I've been waiting for all these years. We walked down the dusty entrance and through the palm trees and onto the field where they have all the merch tents and food vendors. And from there we went on to the field where the main stage was. This was it. We were treated to a beautiful sunset as the backdrop behind Coachella just before GNR took the stage. And when they did, I lost my shit. Their set was everything I'd wanted it to be and more. They played every song I wanted to hear. They surprised me with some songs I didn't expect to hear, and they commanded that stage. The only potential negative was a couple weeks before the show, Axl had broken his foot. So I don't know if you remember Dave Grohl's Rock Throne, but Axl borrowed it, and even from that sitting position, he owned that stage and sounded incredible. I mean, simply put, they just killed it. Here I was in California at Coachella with my fiance by my side. It was a moment I'll remember forever. What else could I ask for? I had it all. But what now? So from where we live in Toronto, the West Coast is about 4,000 kilometers away, or 2,500 miles if you do it that way. That's a lot of travel. If you're gonna do all that travel, I mean, you might as well make it count, right? So after Coachella had wrapped up, we packed the rental car and drove to Las Vegas. We drove through the desert, into the canyons, stopped at the Hoover Dam, and then continued right on to Vegas. While we were on our way, we went on booking.com and we booked an amazing suite at the Bellagio. We couldn't believe how good this place was, and we got it so cheap. So, seeing as how we were in Vegas, we were engaged, why not get married? We made our way to the marriage bureau to get our wedding license issued. And then we booked our wedding ceremony for that night. Remember when I said we had to leave a bunch of our luggage back in Toronto and only take the essentials? That meant that I had most of a suit, but Hanna definitely didn't have a wedding dress. So we spent the rest of the day sightseeing and going to thrift shops to get all the last minute items we needed to look like a respectable couple when we got married. But we found everything we needed just in time, and a few hours later, we were married. It all happened so fast, but it seemed like it was just the way it was supposed to be. I mean, our hearts are pounding, our minds are all scattered, but most importantly, we were happy. We got married at Graceland Wedding Chapel, same place as John Bon Jovi, Billy Ray Cyrus, Jay Leno, and it also is featured in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Need I say more? They provided a civil ceremony for us, and it was over in about 15 minutes. It was simple, it was private, it was everything we wanted it to be. Although we didn't get the package with Elvis overseeing the wedding, he did still make an appearance during our ceremony. He popped in and said hello. So Elvis was in attendance, although he was not overseeing the wedding. We woke up the next morning, and unlike Britney Spears, we had no regrets. In fact, we were ecstatic. The woman I loved had decided that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with me, and I was not only honored, I couldn't have been happier, and I think she felt the same way. Almost as quickly as it had began, the trip was now over. We were headed back to Toronto as Mr. and Mrs., and a whole new chapter of our lives had now begun. Life is supposed to be an adventure. We're given the gift of moments, and it's up to us to extract the absolute most out of them. Hanna and I have just recently celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary, and I couldn't be more happy or proud of the family her, Elias, and I have built. I've enjoyed every step of this journey with them, and we've been blessed with health and happiness and a loving family, and I really look forward to the moments we're going to create in the future. Hanna and I have been a couple for just a little over 2 years, but in that 2 years we've done so much together, it's hard to believe it's only been 2 years. As I look back on the moments we've shared, I can only look forward to the moments we have yet to create. Thanks for watching our story. I hope you enjoyed this vlog, even though it was a little different.